15 forgotten medieval foods that beat modern ones. And here's why. Imagine stepping into a medieval kitchen. No microwaves, no refrigerators, no supermarket aisles bursting with endless choices. Instead, there's smoke curling from an open hearth, the sharp scent of herbs hanging in the air, and a surprising menu of foods so packed with flavor and nutrition that modern cuisine could learn a thing or two. Sounds unlikely? Well, buckle up, because many foods that thrilled medieval palates have vanished from our tables. And it's a shame. Medieval Europe wasn't just about bland gruel and stale bread. It was a time of fascinating culinary innovation where resourcefulness met nature's bounty in the most creative ways. Some ingredients today are dismissed as old-fashioned or downright weird, but back then they were the superfoods, energy boosters, and medicinal treats of their day. Why did they disappear? Often it's due to changing tastes, industrialization, or simply the rise of global trade, bringing new staples and pushing aside the old. But what if we've lost more than just recipes? What if these forgotten medieval foods were actually better than what we eat today? Richer in nutrients, more sustainable, or just tastier? In this series, we'll uncover 15 of these gems, from pungent drinks to rare meats, unusual grains, and sweet treats made without refined sugar. Along the way, you'll discover quirky historical facts. Did you know knights used to feast on dried fish that could last for months? And learn why some of these foods could make a comeback in our modern kitchens. So, sharpen your appetite for history, and maybe for something a little strange but surprisingly delicious. Ready to travel back in time, fork in hand? Let's dive into the first two forgotten medieval wonders. Bee bread, purga, the medieval superfood you've never heard of. If you think honey is the only sweet treasure bees gave to medieval kitchens, think again. Enter bee bread, or purga, a mysterious nutrient-packed marvel that was cherished long before protein bars and superfood powders became trendy. Imagine a natural fermented mix of pollen, nectar, and bee secretions stored carefully inside honeycomb cells. That's bee bread, a living probiotic packed with enzymes, vitamins, and all sorts of health-boosting compounds. In the Middle Ages, bee bread wasn't just food. It was medicine, stamina fuel, and even a secret weapon for knights. The fermentation process breaks down pollen's tough outer shell, making its nutrients easier to digest and absorb. This meant medieval folks who had access to purga enjoyed enhanced energy, stronger immunity, and better digestion. No wonder it was considered a superfood centuries before the term existed. Preparation? Well, technically, the bees did it for them. Humans harvested the bee bread directly from the hives, carefully scraping out the fermented pollen patties without disturbing the colony. It was a rare, precious commodity, often reserved for royalty, monks, or healers. Recipes sometimes mixed it with honey, herbs, or wine to make tonics that promised everything from wound healing to boosting virility. So why did this powerhouse fall out of favor? The answer is simple. Modern beekeeping and mass honey production focused almost exclusively on honey. Bee bread, being harder to harvest and less visually appealing, got pushed aside. Plus, industrial food processing and changing tastes favored easy-to-use sweeteners over gritty, fermented pollen. But here's the kicker. Bee bread today has a far superior nutritional profile to most modern supplements. It's loaded with protein, B vitamins, antioxidants, and probiotics. Everything your gut and brain love. Scientists have started to rediscover purga's benefits, especially as a natural immune booster and energy enhancer. In short, bee bread is like the medieval version of a multivitamin wrapped up in nature's own fermentation lab. Maybe it's time we let this forgotten superfood buzz back into our diets. Just don't expect it to taste like your usual honey. It's a little earthier, a bit tangy, but undeniably fascinating. Zubr meat, the wild power of the European bison. Forget your regular beef or chicken. Medieval hunters and noble tables prized a wild and mighty delicacy. The zubr, or European bison. This enormous creature, roaming the dense forests of medieval Europe, was the source of meat that combined robust flavor with impressive nutrition. Zebra meat was leaner, richer in minerals, and had a deeper, earthier taste than typical domestic meats, making it a prized prize for knights and lords alike. Hunting a zebra wasn't just a meal, it was a matter of honor and skill. These majestic beasts could weigh up to a ton and were as strong as they were elusive. Successfully bringing down a zebra meant a feast that could feed an entire household for days. The meat was often roasted over an open fire or slow-cooked in stews, sometimes flavored with wild herbs, juniper berries, and garlic to balance its bold taste. Why was zebra meat so popular in the Middle Ages? For starters, it was a natural source of lean protein at a time when domesticated animals were scarcer and often reserved for special occasions. Its high iron content helped prevent anemia, a common medieval ailment. Plus, the animal's wild diet, roots, leaves, and grasses, infused the meat with nutrients missing from farmed meats. So why did zebra meat disappear from our plates? The answer is a sad tale of overhunting and habitat loss. By the 20th century, the European bison was nearly extinct, surviving only in a few protected reserves. With their numbers plummeting, hunting them became illegal, and domesticated meats flooded markets, pushing wild game into obscurity. Modern meat lovers may find zebra meat's unique flavor and nutritional profile a refreshing change from supermarket staples. It's richer in omega-3 fatty acids, lower in saturated fats, and free from the hormones and antibiotics common in factory-farmed animals. Some regions in Eastern Europe and Poland are now reintroducing zebra meat in limited, sustainable ways, blending medieval tradition with modern conservation. In short, zebra meat was medieval Europe's answer to premium wild game, powerful, nutritious, and deeply connected to nature. It reminds us that not all meat has to come from factory farms, and that wild flavors and ancient foods have their own story worth tasting. Skirret, the medieval liver porridge with a herbal twist. When it comes to medieval comfort food, nothing quite matched the hearty, earthy charm of skirret, a savory porridge made primarily from liver, often mixed with herbs, grains, and spices. While today, liver might get a bad rap as too strong or old-fashioned, in the Middle Ages it was a prized source of nutrition and flavor, and skirret was a way to turn this organ meat into a beloved staple. What exactly was skirret? Picture a slow-cooked mash of finely chopped liver, usually from pork, beef, or poultry, combined with barley or oat groats, fresh herbs like sage and thyme, and sometimes a splash of wine or vinegar to balance the richness. The result was a thick, almost creamy porridge packed with iron, vitamin A, and a surprising complexity of flavors. It was served warm, often with rustic bread on the side, providing sustenance and comfort, especially during cold seasons. Skirret's popularity in the medieval diet came from both practicality and health beliefs. Liver was cheap, widely available, and incredibly nourishing, perfect for peasants and nobles alike. Medieval healers believed that consuming organ meats like liver could strengthen the blood and sharpen the mind, echoing the ancient idea of "you are what you eat." Plus, porridge was easy to digest, making skirret a go-to meal for the sick or weary traveler. So why has skirret faded from modern menus? A mix of changing tastes and modern food culture's squeamishness about organ meats played a role. Today's preference for muscle meats like steak or chicken breasts left liver and similar dishes sidelined. Also, the slow, careful preparation of skirret doesn't exactly fit the fast food lifestyle. But here's the twist: skirret's nutritional profile and taste actually outshine many modern comfort foods. It's a natural source of heme iron, which our bodies absorb better than plant iron, high in essential vitamins and made without preservatives or artificial ingredients. The herbs add antioxidants and subtle flavor notes that modern processed ready meals can only dream of. There's a small but growing renaissance of liver dishes in some foodie circles, recognizing both the sustainability and health benefits of eating the whole animal. Figget, with its rich history and earthy taste, could easily rejoin the modern table, especially for those who love dishes with depth and a story. Gül, the sweet rose, petal delight of medieval times. Imagine a candy made not from sugar or chocolate, but from delicate rose petals and honey. Welcome to Gül, a fragrant sweet treat beloved in medieval Europe, especially in royal courts and monastic kitchens. Far from the sugary confections we binge on today, Gül was a subtle aromatic dessert that celebrated nature's floral bounty in a way that feels both ancient and refreshingly refined. What exactly was Gül? At its core, it was a kind of rose petal paste or soft jelly made by gently cooking fragrant rose petals with honey and sometimes adding a splash of lemon or spices like cinnamon or cloves. The petals were carefully harvested at dawn when their scent was most potent, then slowly simmered to preserve their color and aroma. The resulting delicacy was often pressed into molds or shaped into small cakes, then dried slightly to achieve a tender, melt-in-the-mouth texture. Gül was more than just a dessert. It was a symbol of luxury and refinement. Roses were considered magical flowers linked to love, beauty, and even medicinal virtues. Medieval herbalists praised rose-based confections for soothing digestive issues and calming nerves, a natural remedy wrapped in sweetness. Nobles would serve Gül during feasts to impress guests and demonstrate wealth, as the labor-intensive preparation and rare ingredients made it a status symbol. So why did Gül disappear from mainstream kitchens? For one, the rise of cane sugar and imported spices shifted tastes toward sweeter, bolder flavors. Industrial candy production favored mass-produced sweets that were cheaper and longer-lasting. The delicate rose flavor, requiring careful handling and fresh petals, simply couldn't compete in a world racing toward convenience and shelf life. Yet Gül has advantages over many modern sweets. It's naturally low in refined sugar, since honey is the sweetener, packed with antioxidants from rose petals and free from artificial additives. Its floral aroma and gentle sweetness offer a sophisticated palate experience that's rare today. Plus, its connection to natural healing herbs gives it a healthful edge. Today, some artisan confectioners and herbalists are reviving Gül as part of the slow food movement, highlighting its blend of beauty, history, and flavor. If you ever get a chance to taste a rose petal paste or jelly, you're sampling a sweet tradition that once graced medieval tables, a reminder that sometimes the best desserts come from flowers, not factories. Honey vinegar, the tangy medieval elixir you didn't know you needed. When we think of vinegar today, it's usually a sharp, acidic afterthought, something to splash on salad or pickle cucumbers. But in the Middle Ages, honey vinegar was much more than a condiment. It was a treasured ingredient, medicinal tonic, and flavor enhancer rolled into one. Unlike modern vinegar made from wine or malt, honey vinegar, also called oxymel when mixed with herbs and honey, offered a delicate balance of sweetness and tang, prized in kitchens and apothecaries alike. How was honey vinegar made? It began with fermenting honey diluted in water. Over time, wild yeasts and bacteria transformed the sweet liquid into a mild vinegar with floral notes and a smooth finish. Sometimes the vinegar was infused with herbs like rosemary, thyme, or mint, making it a versatile base for sauces, marinades, and health remedies. Unlike the harsh vinegar we know today, honey vinegar was gentle enough to sip diluted with water, believed to aid digestion, soothe sore throats, and even boost energy. In medieval households, honey vinegar was a staple. Cooks used it to brighten heavy meat dishes, add zing to stews, or preserve fruits and vegetables. Monks and herbalists brewed special oxymels, honey vinegar mixed with herbs and sometimes spices, prescribing them as cures for coughs, fevers, and digestive troubles. Its popularity stemmed from a clever marriage of flavor and function, making every meal a little healthier and more exciting. So why has honey vinegar faded into obscurity? The answer partly lies in industrial vinegar production. Cheaper, faster methods using grain or fruit made regular vinegar widely available, and the delicate process of fermenting honey became less economically viable. Plus, the rise of refined sugars and synthetic medicines pushed traditional tonics like honey vinegar aside. But here's the twist. Honey vinegar packs a unique flavor punch and health benefits that modern vinegar can't match. It contains antioxidants from honey, organic acids that support gut health, and a subtle sweetness that makes it more approachable. Its gentle acidity can elevate dishes without overpowering them, a quality many chefs today are rediscovering as they seek to balance bold flavors with nuance. In short, honey vinegar was medieval Europe's secret ingredient, a perfect blend of taste, tradition, and tonic. Maybe it's time to bring this forgotten elixir back to modern kitchens and medicine cabinets alike. After all, who wouldn't want a splash of history with their salad dressing? Horseradish vodka, the fiery medieval health shot. In the Middle Ages, when colds and infections were as common as rain, people turned to potent natural remedies, and one of the most surprising was horseradish vodka. Imagine a fiery, spicy drink made by infusing strong distilled spirits with grated horseradish root. This wasn't just a drink to warm your belly on a chilly night. It was a powerful health tonic believed to clear sinuses, boost circulation, and fight off illness. Horseradish, with its sharp, pungent heat, has been prized for centuries as a medicinal root. Medieval herbalists praised it for its ability to stimulate digestion and act as a natural antibiotic. When combined with vodka, already valued for its preservative and antiseptic properties, the result was a fiery elixir that packed a punch both in flavor and function. People sipped small amounts during the cold months or at the first sign of a cough, hoping to harness its invigorating powers. Preparation was simple but effective. Fresh horseradish root was peeled, grated, and steeped in vodka or a similar distilled spirit for several days to weeks. The infusion absorbed the root's heat and aroma, creating a bright, peppery liquor with a warming burn. Sometimes honey or herbs like thyme were added to mellow the intensity and enhance medicinal benefits. Why did horseradish vodka fall out of fashion? Several reasons. The rise of modern medicine and pharmaceutical remedies pushed traditional tonics to the sidelines. Plus, as distilled spirits became more refined and less rustic, spicy infusions lost popularity in favor of smoother tastes. Finally, the sharp, almost nasal-clearing heat of horseradish vodka might be a bit much for today's palates accustomed to milder drinks. Yet, this medieval concoction has surprising advantages over many modern health shots or energy drinks. It's all natural, free from artificial additives, and provides real antibacterial and anti-inflammatory compounds. The warming sensation stimulates blood flow and helps clear congestion naturally, a benefit still appreciated in herbal medicine. In today's booming craft cocktail and wellness scenes, horseradish vodka could make a fiery comeback. It's a bold, flavorful reminder that medieval folks knew how to combine taste and health in a single shot. If you're adventurous, a sip of this spicy spirit is like a direct line to the past, fiery, fascinating, and surprisingly functional. Birch sap kvass. The refreshing medieval elixir from the trees. Long before trendy detox waters and artisanal sodas, medieval Europeans had a secret springtime drink that was both refreshing and nourishing. Birch sap kvass. Extracted from the slender white trunks of birch trees, this lightly fermented beverage was a seasonal favorite that combined the subtle sweetness of birch sap with natural probiotics and a hint of tangy fermentation. Birch sap was harvested in early spring when the sap began to rise, signaling nature's renewal. Villagers would tap the trees much like maple syrup producers do today, collecting the clear, slightly sweet liquid. Then, the sap was left to ferment naturally, sometimes with the addition of rye bread or wild yeast, turning it into kvass, a mildly effervescent, lightly sour drink packed with vitamins, minerals, and beneficial bacteria. Why was birch sap, kvass, so beloved? For one, it was a natural source of hydration and nutrients after the long winter months when fresh fruits and vegetables were scarce. Rich in potassium, calcium, magnesium, and vitamin C, the sap provided an early boost to the immune system. The gentle fermentation added probiotics that helped digestion and overall gut health, a medieval tonic before probiotics became a buzzword. Birch sap kvass was also culturally significant. It was consumed during festivals welcoming spring and was believed to cleanse the body and soul. Monks in monasteries brewed it as a wholesome alternative to alcoholic drinks, valuing its subtle flavor and health benefits. Plus, its lightly fizzy nature made it a delightful contrast to heavier medieval fare. So why did this refreshing drink vanish from common tables? Industrialization and year-round food availability reduced the need for seasonal tonics. The delicate, perishable nature of birch sap and kvass fermentation didn't fit well with modern mass production and distribution. Also, the rise of commercial sodas and juices overshadowed traditional fermented beverages, pushing them to the fringes of food culture. However, birch sap kvass offers advantages that modern soft drinks can't touch. Low sugar, natural fermentation, rich in micronutrients and probiotic benefits. As interest in natural and fermented foods grows, birch sap kvass is enjoying a quiet renaissance, especially in parts of Eastern Europe and Russia. In short, birch sap kvass is a medieval gift from the trees, pure, revitalizing, and full of life. It reminds us that sometimes the best drinks come not from factories, but from the natural rhythms of the forest. Medieval fruit pastille, the original fruity snack. Before gummy bears and fruit chews invaded our candy aisles, medieval cooks crafted a delicacy that was as practical as it was delicious. Fruit pastilles. These were thick, chewy sweets made by cooking down fresh or dried fruits like apples, pears, berries, or plums into a concentrated pulp, then drying the mixture into soft, sliceable cakes. Unlike today's overly sweet artificial fruit snacks, medieval fruit pastilles were natural, packed with vitamins, and often lightly spiced with cinnamon, cloves, or ginger. The preparation was a labor of love. Fruit was simmered slowly with a touch of honey or sugar, when available, until it thickened into a paste. Sometimes herbs and flowers like rose or lavender were added for aroma and mild medicinal effects. Once cooled, the paste was spread thin and cut into shapes, or rolled into balls for easy snacking. Fruit pastilles were beloved for several reasons. First, they were an excellent way to preserve seasonal fruits through the winter, long before refrigeration. Second, they provided a quick source of energy and nutrients for travelers, laborers, and soldiers alike. Third, their natural sweetness and aromatic spices made them a prized treat for both children and adults. Monks even used them as gentle remedies for sore throats and digestive issues. So why have these fruit pastilles mostly disappeared? The rise of industrial candy production replaced handmade fruit pastilles with mass-produced sweets loaded with refined sugars, artificial flavors, and preservatives. The slow, artisanal process couldn't compete with factory efficiency. Moreover, the delicate balance of fruit flavor and spice fell out of fashion as tastes shifted toward more intensely sweet or sour candies. However, medieval fruit pastilles have clear advantages over many modern snacks. They're made from real fruit, often including the fiber and nutrients lost in juices or candies. The subtle use of honey and spices means less added sugar and more complex flavors. Plus, their chewy texture and natural ingredients make them a healthier alternative to synthetic treats. Today, artisanal food makers and historical food enthusiasts are reviving fruit pastilles as a gourmet snack. Tasting one is like taking a bite out of history, a reminder that simple, natural ingredients combined with care and creativity can create sweets that are both wholesome and delightful. Spiced dragees, the medieval sweet medicine. In the medieval world, the line between candy and medicine was delightfully blurry, and spiced dragees perfectly embodied that blend. These small, hard-shelled sweets coated with layers of sugar and infused with potent spices like cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, and sometimes even exotic ingredients like pepper or ginger were beloved both for their taste and their healing properties. Dragées originated as sugar-coated seeds or nuts, often almonds or caraway seeds, but over time evolved to include medicinal herbs and spices. They were carefully crafted by layering syrup over a core ingredient until a glossy, colorful shell formed. These candies were popular among the wealthy, served at feasts as treats, digestive aids, and breath fresheners all in one. Why were spiced dragées so important in medieval times? Sugar itself was a luxury, believed to have cooling and healing qualities, and combined with warming spices, dragées were thought to balance the body's humors, the medieval idea that health depended on the harmony of bodily fluids. The spices had antiseptic and anti-inflammatory properties, helping with digestion, colds, and even toothaches. The labor-intensive process to make dragées meant they were expensive and associated with nobility and religious ceremonies. Monasteries often produced them both as medicine and a source of income. Their small size made them perfect for discreet consumption during long journeys or after heavy meals. So why don't we see spiced dragées in modern candy aisles? The arrival of mass-produced sweets, chocolates, and chewing gums pushed out these complex, bittersweet confections. Modern medicine also separated from culinary traditions, and sugar lost much of its medicinal mystique. Plus, today's candies favor strong, straightforward flavors rather than the layered, subtle spice blends of dragées. Yet, spiced dragées offer some clear advantages. Their blend of sugar and medicinal spices meant they could soothe a sore throat or calm digestion while satisfying a sweet tooth. Compared to sugary snacks with artificial additives, dragées were natural and multifunctional. In the current trend toward functional foods and artisanal sweets, spiced dragées could make a stylish comeback. Imagine a candy that's not just tasty, but also crafted to aid digestion or freshen breath, medieval wisdom that modern palates might just appreciate. Roasted chestnuts. The medieval super snack. Long before chestnuts became a festive street food in winter markets, roasted chestnuts were a beloved and nutritious staple in medieval Europe. Known for their sweet, earthy flavor and satisfying texture, chestnuts provided a natural, energy-packed snack that was especially important in colder months when fresh fruits and vegetables were scarce. Roasting chestnuts was simple yet effective. Prick the shells to let steam escape, then cook them over open flames or hot coals until their tough outer skin peeled away to reveal soft, creamy flesh. This warm treat was eaten straight from the fire, enjoyed by peasants and nobles alike. In fact, chestnuts were sometimes ground into flour to bake bread or porridge, proving their versatility. Why were chestnuts so popular in medieval diets? Aside from their pleasant taste, chestnuts were rich in carbohydrates, fiber, and essential minerals like potassium and magnesium. They were a vital source of energy for laborers working long hours and a convenient, portable food for travelers. Plus, chestnuts stored well when dried, making them a reliable food supply during winter. The medieval love for chestnuts was also cultural and practical. In mountainous regions like the Apennines and the Pyrenees, chestnut trees were a crucial part of rural economies, providing food, wood, and forage. Festivals often celebrated the chestnut harvest, cementing its place in local traditions. So why did roasted chestnuts fade from everyday tables? The rise of cereal grains like wheat and rye, which were easier to cultivate and process, gradually replaced chestnuts as a staple carbohydrate source. Industrial food production also shifted tastes toward processed snacks and breads, pushing chestnuts into the realm of seasonal treats rather than daily fare. However, roasted chestnuts still offer clear advantages over many modern snacks. They're naturally gluten-free, low in fat, and packed with slow-digesting carbohydrates, making them a sustained energy source without sugar spikes. Their unique flavor and texture provide a satisfying alternative to chips or candy bars. Today, chestnuts enjoy a nostalgic revival during holiday seasons and among health-conscious eaters seeking whole, natural foods. Bringing roasted chestnuts back to regular snacking could reconnect us with a centuries-old tradition, one that's both delicious and nourishing. What can modern cuisine learn from medieval forgotten foods? So, what can today's food lovers and chefs really learn from these 15 forgotten medieval products? Why should we even care about foods that disappeared centuries ago? Well, for starters, these ingredients remind us that history isn't just about wars and kings. It's also about flavors, nutrition, and the ways people connected with nature through food. Many medieval foods were naturally nutritious, often packed with vitamins, minerals, and healing properties, qualities that modern industrial food sometimes lacks. Take honey vinegar with its gentle tang and health benefits, or birch sap kvass, a natural probiotic drink from the forest. These are not just relics, they're recipes for better, more sustainable eating. The medieval kitchen teaches us to embrace seasonality, use whole natural ingredients, and appreciate the balance between flavor and function. Many of these products also show us the value of slow food, the patient art of preserving, fermenting, and enhancing nature's bounty without shortcuts. In a world dominated by fast food and artificial additives, that's a lesson worth remembering. But should we bring these products back? Absolutely. Reviving forgotten foods doesn't mean replacing modern favorites, but enriching our culinary palate and health options. Imagine desserts made from rose petals instead of artificial flavors, or spicy horseradish vodka as a natural cold remedy. These products carry stories and traditions that can deepen our connection to food and culture. So here's a question for you. Which forgotten medieval food would you be curious to try first? Would you sip honey vinegar, nibble on fruit pastilles, or brave the fiery kick of horseradish vodka? Or maybe you're inspired to experiment in your own kitchen, blending ancient wisdom with modern taste? If you enjoyed this journey through medieval flavors, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more fascinating food history and tasty discoveries. Food is more than just fuel. It's culture, medicine, and magic all rolled into one. Let's keep exploring it together.